like Dr. Lola said. This has been excellent. I wanted to honor Chris and stop on time here. And I think he's coming up. And if not, I just want to thank everybody for being a part of this. It was really excellent. We'll see you in some of the other classes here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was
Bye.
wonderful.
Thank you. Bye.
Our gather was well.
Greetings. Greetings, Amy. Welcome to the first Fireside Chat of GatherVerse Education Crisis Summit 2026. With me is the distinguished Amy Ediston. Amy, it's so good to see you again. Welcome you.
It's great to see you again as well.
Thank you. All right, now we're gathering to discuss the topic, the literacy that the future demands. Amy, I'd like for us to start with introductions first, and then we'll head right to the conversation. Uh, Please, briefly tell us who you are, where you're joining us from, and your inspiration to join the summit.
Great. Well, it's really a pleasure to be here, and I think this conversation couldn't come at a more important moment. My name is Amy Edelstein, and I'm the founder and executive director of Inner Strength Education. We bring systems thinking, mindfulness, and evolutionary understanding to young people. So, and I'm right now working on building an AI coach that has a curriculum as well as role-playing modules, multilingual cultural literacy to ages 15 to 25. So I'm really trying to pair our in-person live education with an AI coach that is intelligently bounded with authentic source material, credited source material, data privacy, and also support for students who need real human support if they're struggling with different issues. So this question of how do we bring AI and what are we teaching and why are we teaching it and what's its relationship to education in the past and education in the future is something I spend all my time with. So I'm really excited for this conversation.
It's interesting, like building an AI coach. I think we need educators building the tools that the learners should use because they understand how to communicate to the learners. So well done. Thank you for joining us again. And let's get into the conversation, Amy. It's one that really interests me. And I do think this conversation on literacy, I'm looking from the 90s down to the 2000s and the change in education with technology. And now we're in 2026, we're seeing AI enter the classroom. A lot is changing, Amy. And that brings me to your book, right? The Conscious Classroom. I stumbled upon it. Very beautiful book, Amy. Kudos on that book. I learned that education is not only about what we know, but about who we become through what we know. And what we know is changing fast, as well as decisions and leadership. So when we talk about the literacy that the future demands, I think we're no longer talking about just reading and writing, Amy. I think there's something more that we're talking about when we say what's the literacy that the future now demands from us? In 2026, the literacy 10 years ago is different from what the literacy is now in 2026. And coming to the question, Amy, please tell us, what forms of literacy do you think are still deeply underappreciated in these leadership conversations?
I love the question. And I actually believe that the literacy we need is the literacy that we've always needed and that has been taught since time immemorial, which is how to be a noble human being. What's our moral core? What's our ethical sense and values? How accountable are we to the highest human ideals? How trustworthy are we? Do our word and deed and belief conform to those higher ideals of insight, wisdom, compassion, generosity of spirit, selflessness? Those are the things that have been taught in the great wisdom schools since we've been able to record history, and I'm sure earlier than that in earlier civilizations that maybe didn't have written history. And then I think we've taken a bit of a detour when we started to model our schools on an industrial model. It was a philosophy called Taylorism, which is how to make everything very efficient and how to separate the worker from the overarching view and the impact of their work and just get them to perfect one thing in repetition so it would produce more profit. And so we modeled our schools on that model. So we have these bells and short class change times and memorization and standardized tests. And we've forgotten how to cultivate that sense of meaning and purpose. So as we go into the world of AI, where knowledge and even synthesizing knowledge is done from prompts we bring, our human skills, how we think about the implications and the human effect, the consequences of our actions are so much more important.
Yes, Amy, can you hear me clearly, Amy?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Can you hear me clearly? I think
Uh,
there's like noise from my background. Can you hear me clearly?
yes, there's a little bit of an echo, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that. I'm speaking of on what you just talked about. I want to follow up with a question. And the question is, with what you just said now, with the timing, the structure that's already been placed with the education system, I want us to look at the angle where what does leadership really do in keeping the structure intact in 2026?
So, educational leadership is what can help lift us out of the particulars and let us see the totality of where we're moving. Because in some geographical locations, they're concerned about absenteeism and literacy. And in some, they're concerned about the viability of their school structures, their concrete structures where kids come. And they're depending on where we are in the world, there are different practical concerns. But educational leadership means we're looking at humanity as a whole. We're looking at our world as a whole. We're saying, how do we help our next generation feel stable and secure in themselves in an uncertain world? What's going to give them that sense that I have tools and skills to manage fear, anxiety, uncertainty, disappointment, all the concerns that confront us with a lot of the global issues we're facing. So, how do we impart those skills? And how do we bring to the forefront young people's natural passion for innovation? Because the human brain is designed, particularly in adolescence, in emerging adulthood, for creativity, innovation, coloring outside the lines, seeing new possibilities, having a very strong moral sense of right and wrong, of care and what is lack of care. So you often see that great change movements have been started and led by young people because they have their lives ahead of them. They see what's possible. So leadership in education is looking at the complexity of our world right now, creating that sense and skill transference for young people to have the ability to manage emotions, to be accountable and responsible, to show up and to care for the whole, and then to cultivate creativity. So it's not going to be a specific skill set. It's not that now we need to train everyone in STEM, and no, now we need to train everyone in the arts, and now we need to that we've gone beyond that. We have 8 million, 8 billion people in the world. Everyone's gonna, we have plenty of room for all the different skill sets. What we need though is that sense that humanity coexists one with another. We exist on one planet. And the sensibilities we want to inculcate in our young people is care for that whole picture and a desire for the flourishing of all creatures, human beings as well as all living creatures and systems on our planet.
All right, thank you, Amy. That was well put. When you mentioned about creating that moral judgment for students to get right in the classroom, I want us to talk about self-awareness regarding moral judgment. And that will bring me to this question. What role does self-awareness play in translating learning into real influence and impact?
So self-awareness is it's so critical because and we can see in some of our global figures, they don't have self-awareness about their motive, even if it's very transparent to everyone else. And so without that self-awareness, we act blindly based on impulse and unseen desires, often to the detriment of people around us or creatures around us or structures around us. When you cultivate that self-awareness, what you're also activating is conscience. My actions matter. Blindly seeking wealth and power matters. It's going to have negative consequences on the quality of existence of the whole. And that is not being taught. So self awareness doesn't just mean you said something I didn't like, so I felt bad, which a lot of people, and then I feel justified to respond meanly towards you. It's not that kind of self awareness. It's self awareness in a context of our interconnectedness and our directionality towards goodness.
Amy, I totally agree with you on that, especially when you say it's not about how we feel, it's something we need to cultivate rightly. And I totally agree with that. We don't have much time, but I'd like for us to wrap it up with this question. And I'm super sorry about my microphone. So please, if you could, distill the future of work most essential literacy into one guiding principle as an educator now, what would it be and why?
So, emotional literacy is really caring. So, cultivating and activating and exercising our muscles of care. And when we do that, it automatically activates our sensitivity. We start becoming aware of others. We start becoming aware of our impact on others. We become aware of others' impact on us. And we become aware of the whole continuum. Culture changes, that changes our personal experience. Technology changes, that changes our collective experience. So, emotional literacy really has to do with our understanding of systems, our understanding of how emotions activate, and our, especially our understanding of our interconnection on the whole. What's our impact on the whole?
Dr. Amy, right? Forgive me, the microphone is a bit spotting me up. But regardless, the topic of this fireside chat, the literacy that the future demands. I just want you to take in one line, tell us what does the future demands?
The future demands people who are awakened, who really care. It's a heartfelt and moral calling for all of us to rise up and care at a level that we haven't really considered. And when we do that, then all the other skill sets will come, and the future will be welcoming to the next generation.
Thank you very much, Amy. It was so good to have you here and for your expressions, your insights. They were really, really very sound. And thank you, everybody. Please follow Dr. Amy, rather. I keep saying Doctor, I'm so sorry. Please follow Amy and our gather as well.
Thank you so much. Our gather was well. I appreciate
Bye.
it.